Welcome back to Canadian Uncensored. I'm the uncensored Canadian. And do I look as dumb as our government thinks I am? Because you get the Treasury Board President, Anita Anand, telling the ministers that they have to find $15.4 billion worth of spending cuts before the October, I think it's October 2nd deadline. Christia Freeland is talking about we're fiscally responsible. We're fiscally responsible. You know how she does that? And she cocks her head, and she's got to be the most unlikable person in the whole country, other than maybe Trudeau. I don't know. I think I'd rather have a beer with Trudeau than her. But I digress. So if they could find $15.4 billion in the next couple of months, why couldn't they find it last month, last year, 2 years ago when they were spending like crazy? You want to know why? Because there's an election going to be called here pretty soon. You know why? Because the conservatives are starting to gain momentum and get way further ahead. If it's not now, it'll be never for the Liberals and the NDP. You might as well just forget about them. They're basically gone from the political scene after the next election. But they want you to believe, after all of the shit that they've put Canada through, all of the excess spending, the $6,000 a night hotel rooms to the $70,000 chauffeurs in for the Governor General, to all of the just the throwing away of money, the $250,000 COVID-19 hotel rooms. They want you to forget all about that, because now the Canadian Liberal government is going to be fiscally responsible. They're going to cut costs. What costs? Well, they don't know. It's sort of like, well, we've got to cut the amount of nitrogen fertilizer that goes into the farmers' fields by what, 30%? They don't know anything about it, but they just pick a number, and that's just the way it is. We're making a rule. We're making a law. We're telling you what we're going to do. But they have no idea how they're going to get there. This is the same shit that we've been through over and over and over again. They make these big ideological goalposts over there, and they never get there. They just tell you that they're going there. They never tell you how they're going to get over there. They're just going to go there, and it'll balance itself, if you know what I mean. It'll work its way out. We're irrelevant. We're just the politicians that have been voted in to keep our country safe, to keep our country from having homeless people in every city, to keep the crime off the streets, the violence that you see. It's all part and parcel of the Liberal policies that have been put in place over the last 8 years. They don't care about you as a Canadian, obviously, or else they wouldn't be spending like drunken sailors. And when it comes time to saving money, it's only before an election is called, so that you think, or they want you to think, you're not that dumb. But, well, maybe the Eastern Canadians, Quebec and Ontario, might be, because that's the only reason the Liberals ever get into power, is because those two provinces. But then again, they vote the Liberals in because the Liberals want to take more out of Western Canada and give it to Eastern Canada. So there's something in it for them, but it's getting to the point where you can't afford to live in a house in Toronto. You can't buy anything like on a regular wage. Even if you're making $6,000-7,000 a month, how are you going to buy a house? Huh? How are you going to raise a family on 2 incomes, buy a house, buy a car, insurance and upkeep and gasoline? Don't even get me started on carbon taxes and stuff. That's a good reason. That if that was the only reason to put the Conservatives in, just axing the carbon tax, it would be better than what's happening at this point with the Liberals right now, because a tax grab, and that's going to somehow stop pollution in Canada, CO2 in Canada. Well, what about the rest of the world? We're such a small little speck of dust in the world as far as the CO2 emissions go. We have a very, very small population, but because we have a political elite that thinks that they're somehow morally superior to the rest of us, you know, because they are the Laurentian elites out there. And they don't care how much a gallon of gas is. They're not paying for it themselves, or even if they do, it's like nothing to them because they're all multimillionaires, and that's just the way it is. But when it comes down to them making these policies, putting them out on their sponsored news channels around Canada, your CBC, your CTV, all of these corporations that wouldn't be there unless it was for the liberal handout, our tax dollars being given to these people so that they can praise the liberals and their policies, even if none of those policies have ever accounted for anything. The housing, what is it now? What is it? Housing's not federal responsibility. Did you see that? My God, you know, oh, housing is our top priority. It's not our responsibility. It's it's typical federal policy to pass the buck on to the provinces if it makes them feel and look a little bit better in their own minds. We all know the bullshit that's coming out of the Trudeau government. We all see the overspending. We all see that it's ineffective policies that they've got, the facetious way that they deal with everybody else in the country. Even to the Freeland being part of the WEF. It's all of these things and more that infuriate the Canadian people to the point where they have to get rid of this Liberal government. There's no choice. If we don't, it's going to bankrupt us. You think that they're going to save you $15.4 billion in cuts? They'll never even get close to that milestone. But it's that goalpost I was telling you about that's way over there. They say they're going over there, but they'll never get there. And why not? Because there's too many bleeding heart liberals that you can't cut this and you can't cut this, and it'll go to court, and the NDP will bitch and complain and say, we'll pull support from you, and nothing will happen. But it looks good on their media channels that they pay for well, actually, they don't pay for it. You, as a Canadian, pays for it. So when you see this garbage on their media channels, think about it and know where it's coming from, knowing that it's just another one of those milestones that they'll never hit. It's just another way for them to try to make it so they look good in the eyes of the Canadian citizens. They don't have to do anything, but that's been the Liberal policy for the last 8 years. They don't do anything. That talk is cheap. They bail their buddies out of legal problems. The SNC Lavalin thing, Trudeau and Jody Wilson-Raybould. It's on and on to the Aga Khan vacation to let's go to Tofino rather than indigenous first indigenous get together. All of these things. You see, they don't care. They don't care. They're used the media. They try to whitewash over everything. They tell you that they're going to be fiscally responsible because that's the way they are, and then they'll go and do exactly what they've done for the last 8 years. So anyway, that is another Canadian Uncensored video, and just trashing out the Liberals today. It's a God honest truth. As a Westerner, I see it. They want to devastate the Alberta economy. They don't understand that's where the money comes from. So if Alberta goes down in a ball of fire, well, the rest of Canada follows it down that hole. But see, they don't care because they're going to get voted out, and they'll blame it on Harper or Polyev when he's the prime minister the next time, and you'll see them up in arms with their little red flags, and you know that that's the way it is here in Canada. Anyway, that's another video from Canadian Uncensored. Until next time, peace out. Bye now.